for this basic bird tutorial, for your yarn, you'll need a color for your main body. So I'm going to be using blue this time. It's 3/4 of a skein, or like 25 to 28 yards would be plenty. You'll need a piece that's at least 12 to 15 inches for your beak, your color. You'll need at least 10 yards for your feet, and that would be plenty. You'll probably need less, 5 to 10 yards. 2 pieces, 12 inches for eyes, black, and you can add 2 pieces of white if you wanted to add the accent. You'll need a lighter to join colors. I'm only doing the color changing for the feet. Please see the PDF that is for sale in my Etsy shop for the other modifications that will have more color changes, but it's exactly how I do the color changes of the feet. There's just more of them for each of the modifications of birds. Then a row counter is handy. They say scissors. And your polyfill. Starting with your main color, we're going to create a slip knot, leaving a good 8 to 12 inch tail, whatever you need if you're comfortable closing or if you need more yarn. We're going to take our working yarn over the tail yarn side and create a loop. And then you're going to take the working yarn up through that, pull on the tail to tighten, and you can adjust the loop by pulling on the working yarn or stretching the loop. I don't like my beginning chain to be super loose, really tight 2 finger widths, and this counts as 1. So we're going to be doing 7 in total. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I like to knit this way in a counterclockwise direction. It stays tighter for me. Or you can go in a clockwise direction. You just take your tail and you stick it down through that chain. So since that's the majority, we're going to go that way. So just changing that loop so the working yarn is coming in that way. I'm going to take that tail, go down where that loop is coming out. Adjust your chain so it's not twisted, and adjust this first loop so it's only 1 finger's width. And now on these outside chain spaces all the way around, keeping it nice and close and tight, you're just going to pull up loops all the way around, so it'd be 5 more. Make sure you're not pulling up the tail. You can even pull the tail through the center, just out of the way. So now we should have 6 loops around the circle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is our first round. And I'm also going to bring in, I guess I didn't say this at the beginning, a stitch marker is also handy. You can also use just a piece of yarn. So you can just cut off a piece, a little small piece to stick through there. So I like to mark my first stitch, but we're going to knit that one next. So this round, we're doing a knit, increase, knit for 6 times. So we end up with 12 loops. Now the increase is a little bit tricky. It's going to be in the same kind of space that this loop is coming out, the second loop. So you're going to pull it up through that same chain, but you want it to be equal. So it might be a little bit bigger of a loop than these 2 that are just regular knits. So then you're still going to just regular knit that one that's next to it. And then again, the increase is where this next loop that you would knit is coming out. Pull up just a little bit bigger of a loop so it's a little more even. And these are all 1 finger width. And again, it's in that space where that other loop is. Sometimes you gotta wiggle your fingers in there and just push it through. And you just keep doing that sequence all the way around. And then that last increase is in where that first stitch is. So now we should have 12 loops all the way around our circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Lovely. That is round 2. Now we're going to be knitting these 3 rows, next 3 rows for 12. So just all the loops. Depending on what bird you make will depend on the color changes you do. This is just the basic. You could do this guy in any color. I've done him in yellow. You could do white or cream, whatever color. So one more. Oops, a little tangled there. Okay, so we have 5 rounds done so far. Actually just knitting around again because we're not changing colors. Okay, this next round we're going to be adding in the wings. So we're not adding the wings on at the end, we're adding them in now. So we're going to knit for 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we get to this next one, we're going to knit through it once, a little bit bigger of a loop, knit through that loop 2, so it's like chaining one up, and then knit through that one. Okay, so now we've got 3 in that one spot. Now we are going to turn it this way, so towards the way that we want to go, knitting, continue knitting, and we're going to take in this space down the chain, we're going to pull up another loop, and then we're going to take this end loop over that loop, and then we're going to go into the body, pull up a loop, take that loop over that loop. Ta-da! That is our wing. Now to join it to the body, take the body loop over top of that wing loop and pull a loop through. Now we're going to knit 6 and we'll do the next wing. So again, we're going to knit 1, knit another one through that one, and one more. Turn it so it's going the way we were knitting to finish. Oops. Oops, I went too many. 6, this one. Knit 1, knit another one, 3, then turn it Go through that space, take it over, go into the next space, and then we take body loop over the wing loop and then pull it up. Okay, this next round we're going to knit around, but we've lost 2 loops, so we need to pull up 2 loops again, so we're back to 12. So there's 3. Now we're at the wing. I don't want to pull up this because it's going to leave up a big gap. You're going to pull up, it's going to be a stitch on the wing like there. It's going to face kind of the wrong way. So just adjust there, and then just keep going. So again, here's our wing. If you wanted to, you could pull up through this vertical spot. I just find when I do that, or this horizontal spot, it leaves too big of a gap here and I get a hole. So I'm just pulling up the one that's facing the other way by that one. And it just seems to snug the loops together better there. But if you're having trouble finding that one, just find the one that you can see. So now we're back up to 12 loops. This next round, we're going to be adding our feet. So the feet are just a bobble stitch. This is the way I do my bobble stitch. Everyone might do them different. So we're going to knit 5. So if you haven't guessed it, yes, this is going to be the front of our body. The stitch marker is at the back. So we knit 5. Now we're going to change our color to do our bobble stitch. So you're going to cut the base of the loop. You can defuzz around because there's a cord. You'll feel it in the middle. And that's actually what we want to melt to join together. If you just burn fuzz and join fuzz together, you will find that in time it will come apart. You definitely want to make sure, especially with all the modifications, with the color changes, you take time to melt that cord. And now for the bobble stitch, you're just going to go through once the loop. It's kind of nice that this is a different color so you can see. Now I'm going to come around on this right side and I'm going to go back through that same spot that I pulled it up like that. So I'm just going to take this working yarn and I'm going to make a loop and I'm going to feed it back through the space between those 2 loops and then back out the front. Now I'm going to take my working yarn on top of that stitch and pull through. So that's my bobble stitch. If you have a way that you prefer or you learned it, please do your own bobble stitch. That's just the way I do it. Now I'm going to change my color again to knit for the next 2. So the feet with all of them are the same. It's just your colors change. Okay, and now getting it nice and close to that bobble stitch. Gonna knit 2. and then cut. My scissors aren't the greatest. So can you see how there's that black in the middle? So this yarn's not super fuzzy. This stuff kind of is. Ouch. So be careful, it's hot. I burnt myself there too the other day, just in case you were wondering what was on my thumb. I was pulling some stuff out of the oven and I burnt my thumb. Okay, so bobble stitch again. Going from the front to the back through that stitch. Then I'm going to come around this side and go through. And now I'm going to pre-make a loop to pull from the front, from the back to the front. So I'm going to go under where I joined my yarns together, changed my color, and then I'm going to go back through that loop with the loop that I pulled behind. Oh dear, I've lost a loop. I did. Oh, there it is. Okay. Then I'm going to pull that loop through. And then this working yarn is going to go on top of where you joined the yarn, or where that loop was pulled back through. So there's my other bobble stitch. Cut, 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 cut. And then just finish knitting. Make sure that color doesn't come through. I might have not cut that short enough, but okay, on to our last row. A good thing, because I'm at the end of my yarn. So the first stitch we're going to do is a decrease. So it doesn't really matter which way you decrease. I'm going to go right over left. That one doesn't really matter, I should say. And then knit one, and now we're going to decrease again, but I want to decrease towards the bobble stitch. I don't want to create any more stitches, any more space between the stitch and the bobble stitch. So take your left over your right, so the left is pulling to the right. And then we knit the bobble stitch. This one, again, it doesn't matter which way you go, because either way it's going to pull away from one bobble stitch. So let's just, because we went right over left first, left over right, we're going to go right over left. Bobble stitch. And then this one, again, we want to go towards the bobble stitch, so let's do right over left again. And I forgot to put my stitch marker in. But I know we end on this one, so that we end up with 8 loops at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So cut your yarn tail long enough so you can close, so like a good 12 inches. We're going to close off the top end first. So this is a little bit of a smaller opening. You're going to take your yarn tail from this end, and you're going to go from inside to outside these chain spaces, going around. And then pull it tight, and if he's kind of puckering up on the top, just push it in. Then take your yarn tail down into the middle, creating a loop, back up, and then pull it through that loop to anchor it. And you could do that twice. If you want little hairs, you could use this as one of the little hairs sticking up, just trim it, or you can tie pieces for little hairs at the top. So this is the front of the guy. Here's his bottom. I like to close off my loops before I stuff, just because I tend to pull my loops through when I'm stuffing them and then it all falls apart. So I'm going to go through from the inside to the outside of these 8 loops. Then I will add my stuffing and then I will pull it closed. You do whatever process you like. Okay, so I'm going to stuff it and then we'll close it off. So he's good and stuffed. This is kind of the shape of him. You can stuff it to your desired stuffing. Just make sure that if you stuff it too much, then especially with the color changes, you're going to start seeing it in between. So it might make it look a little bit messy if you stuff it too much. Just be cautious of that. So I'm going to pull. This is not the best yarn for pulling, but pull tight, nice and closed. And then again, I'm going down through the middle. I pull up a nice big loop, and then I go through the loop and pull it and anchor it. And I'm going to do it twice here. So you can either do the beak or the eyes first. I like to do the beak. You could do the nice small little beak just across 2. I tend to do a nice big one across 3. And it's about midway up, or just almost level with the wings. And you're just going to go through, down. And then I'm just going to tie these guys together here. I don't tie too tight or you're going to pull the stitches apart. And then you also need to kind of move the yarn so that you can tuck that knot away. So there's his little beak. And then the eyes, I would just go one up from the beak and then straight up from the feet. Up from the beak and up from the feet. You could go over 2 stitches, or I'm just going to go 1 stitch, depending how big you want the eyes, and then wrap it around, tie, and then I'm going to make sure it's not too tight so you can stuff it away, and then you can kind of adjust. There should be 2 pieces of yarn wrapped around that stitch, so you can try to get into that one that's really tight and pull it out. And then this side. So wrapped, double tie, and then I'm just going to tuck it away and then adjust so the black matches the other side. And there's my little bluebird. So that is how you make the basic bird. Like I said, I have a PDF for the other modifications. So check that out. I will list all the modifications at the end here if you want to see how many I have and what they look like. Thank you so much for joining me with this tutorial. And if you could tag me on social media if you make one, I would love to see your little bird.